Welcome to Graham Talks Politics. This is the pilot episode of a new series called Since Our Rights Are Under Attack. These episodes will be based on guides published by the ACLU, guides that aim to help protect our rights, all of which I will link in the description for your reference. Today, we are focusing on a crucial demographic: students. School is where we learn, where we grow, and importantly, where our rights as citizens are still very much in play. It's a common misconception among students that you check your First Amendment rights at the schoolhouse gate. This is not true. But navigating those rights within the school system can be tricky. Today, we're diving deep into student rights, drawing from a guide published by the American Civil Liberties Union, or ACLU. We're going to cover free speech, dress codes, what to do if you're stopped by police, and the rights of specific groups like LGBTQ+ students, students with disabilities, and even pregnant students. Let's start with the big one: free speech. The Supreme Court established back in 1969 that students don't lose their constitutional rights just by stepping onto school grounds. You have the right to express yourself. This includes speaking out, handing out flyers, wearing expressive clothing, and so on. But this comes with a key caveat. You're expressing yourself, you're speaking out, handing out flyers, wearing expressive clothing, cannot disrupt the functioning of your school. Now, be careful, because disrupt is a loaded word. Disruption is not your school simply disagreeing with your opinion or finding your views controversial. Instead, the ACLU emphasizes that a school cannot suppress speech just because it's bad taste. We've seen many court cases uphold students' rights to wear anti-war armbands, pro-choice armbands, and even shirts supporting the LGBTQ+ community. So you may find yourself asking, what can a school regulate? Dress codes are a good example of this. A school may have rules about hats, or rules about the length of skirts. And these rules are okay, as long as these rules aren't based on the message that a student is trying to convey. So, a school can't ban pink hats if those hats aim to raise awareness for breast cancer. Nor can a school ban pro-NRA shirts just because. However, the school could ban all hats or all graphic t-shirts, those ones included. This is different. The key here is content neutrality. A school policy must be applied equally, regardless of the message. If a rule is selectively enforced to silence certain viewpoints, that's a clear violation of a student's First Amendment rights. This is a critical point to remember. It's important to remember that this also extends beyond the walls of your school building. Organizing protests, advocating for your views, and especially what you post on social media are all generally protected under the First Amendment, particularly if these activities are happening off campus or outside of school hours. Schools have limited authority to punish you for your online content that doesn't directly relate to school activities. We should move on to dress codes, which often become flashpoints for conflict because they sometimes become not just about what you wear, but about who gets to wear it. The ACLU guide makes a strong statement. Schools cannot discriminate based on gender or gender identity when it comes to dress codes. This is especially important for LGBTQ plus students. The guide emphasizes a school's responsibility to create a safe and inclusive environment, which means they cannot out students to their families, revealing a student's sexual orientation or gender identity without their permission is a violation of privacy. A school also cannot ignore harassment based on a student's appearance or behavior. Speaking of specific protections, we should mention students with disabilities. Federal law prohibits discrimination against people with disabilities. Schools must provide equal access to academics, field trips, extracurriculars, everything. This means that a school must make all necessary accommodations, respond to bullying, and ensure a truly inclusive environment. The same goes for pregnant students. Schools cannot force a student who's pregnant to drop out or change schools. Instead, they must provide reasonable accommodations for doctor's appointments, missed classwork, and recovery after childbirth. Now, we should get into what happens if you're stopped by a police officer at school. If you've been stopped by a police officer at school, things have suddenly become particularly serious. And the ACLU's advice is clear. If you are stopped by a police officer at school, you should exercise your right to remain silent and ask for a lawyer immediately. Do not say anything, do not sign anything, and most importantly, do not make any decisions without legal counsel. And absolutely, under no circumstances, consent to a strip search. No officer or school employee has the authority to do that. It's a violation of your rights. Period. The guide also addresses the rights of immigrant students, which I think is important to mention. Students with limited English proficiency or students whose immigration status may be iffy can not be denied education by public schools. Instead, public schools must allow them education and provide language support if needed. This is a reminder that access to education is a fundamental right, regardless of background. And finally, we should touch on a hugely important point: transgender students. Schools cannot force students to wear clothing inconsistent with their gender identity, and increasingly, courts are ruling that excluding transgender students from using restrooms consistent with their gender identity is illegal. However, this area of the law is constantly evolving, so staying informed is crucial to these students. The bottom line is, transgender students not only deserve the same respect, dignity, and access to education as any other student, but currently their constitutional rights guarantee the same respect, dignity, and access to education as any other student. Schools have a responsibility to create a safe and supportive environment for all. So, what should you do if you feel like your rights are being violated? The ACLU recommends documenting everything and reporting the incident to school officials. If this doesn't resolve the issue, it may be worth considering contacting the ACLU or other legal organizations for support. Remember, knowing your rights isn't about being confrontational. It's about empowering yourself and ensuring that your voice is heard. School is a place of learning, and that includes learning about your rights as a citizen. You can find more information and resources on this topic at aclu.org. Thank you for tuning in to Graham Talks Politics. Join us next time as we explore another important aspect of your constitutional rights. Disclaimer: this podcast provides general information about legal rights and should not be considered legal advice. If you believe your rights have been violated, you should consult with a qualified attorney. Thank you for your time.